South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
November 12th here. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. This is Sports by the Book. I'm Alex White alongside Kenny White. We will take you through a full hour. First half hour will be all today's action. We've got 3 college football games on deck. We've got a lot of NBA games, and these are meaningful games because we are starting the in-season tournament. The NBA Cup begins tonight. We'll get his thoughts on all of those games and if there are any edges. Couple NHL games. I think we'll cover 1 or 2 of those. And yeah, it'll be a fun show. The last half hour, we'll go through NFL. We'll give you our top 10 going into week 11. And we will give you run percentage, pass percentage, their ATS from those teams. And we will give you pace of play to keep you updated. It's pretty wild. I mean, these spreads for the run percentage and the pass percentage for NFL are such a huge difference. I think we talked about yesterday college kind of evening out a little bit and some teams carrying them and not looking so bad. It looks bad for NFL. So we'll give you the 10 teams that are probably on your don't bet list and the 10 that you do want to support. Again, happy Tuesday. Welcome in. Thank you to everybody behind the glass. We appreciate all that you do. And let's recap yesterday a little bit. So Miami Dolphins, they pull off the win. They saved the state of Florida. So Florida football went 1-11 rather than 0-12. The Rams, it kind of looks like they might be giving up for the season. What do you think?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I would not say that
okay.
After one game. Miami, again, at 2-6, I said they still have 9 games left.
More desperate team.
Yes. And the entire league's watching. Hasn't been a good year, but obviously Tua was out 4 games. I told you I like the Dolphins in that game. It never got to 3. I never saw 3. No. I saw the line go down to 2.5. So I didn't bet that, but I did bet 4 props yesterday. Went 4-0 in the props because of the Rams offense and what I thought they would do with their 2 best wide receivers back. And it didn't look good early. And going into the 4th, 3 of them had cashed. The only one that didn't was Stafford passing yards over. But he had a big last drive to get that to go over very easily too. But yeah, those teams, they're not, I don't think they give up yet. I think they give up with 4 weeks to go in the season. So I don't think they give up now with 9 weeks to go.
Now 4-5 on the year. Dolphins 3-6. So looking at the box score, or if you did watch some of that game, what I said yesterday, that Miami's defense is better than the numbers show, right? I think they did an outstanding job, especially that first half against the Rams. They held them to 2 field goals. Really good red zone defense.
Well, I will say this too, because I'm not a big believer that the Dolphins' defense is that good. I think they're average. The reason why they looked good is that, remember, the Rams' offensive line woes.
Yes.
They have the weakest offensive line in the NFL right now because of all of the injuries they've had. Now, that line should get better, but Matthew Stafford was sacked 4 times for 36 yards. He didn't have a lot of time to throw, it looks like to me, in that game. The running game was okay, not great, but Kyron Williams, 15 carries, 62 yards. They were expecting, I think his under and over was like 80 and a half. Yeah. So they didn't get the rush yards that they needed out of him. I also feel like a team like the Rams, and I could be wrong, they weren't supposed to be 4-4 with their receivers out and this banged up offensive line. It is a miracle they got to 4-4. And now they see the Dolphins coming in at 2-6. We got this. And you really don't, because you're a paper tiger because of that offensive line. And that's where the game's won in the trenches. So, again, that's what I like to tell people, that when you go to a game and you watch your team play, you need to know how good the opponent is, really, before you, and not just what the betting line is, because if you're Alabama and you're a 20-point favorite, the team you're playing is a really good football team still. They're still a really above average team. But if you're Bowling Green and you're a 20-point favorite, that could mean a couple things. That you're really, really good, or that team you're playing is really, really bad, and you don't know. So that's why it's so important to have power ratings. And that's just, the foundation of knowing how good teams are. And I feel like Miami's defense is average.
It'll be interesting because, as you mentioned about the Rams, they weren't really supposed to be 4-4. There was rumors that they were going to trade Cooper Kupp, and then they saw the Niners have their issues and go through their injury bug. And then so it became kind of like that division was open, right? Wide open. Yeah. Now we've seen the Cardinals really step up, and they are leading that. They're 6-4 right now on the year, but so we'll see where they go from here. Now they are in third in the NFC West at 4-5, right there, tied with the Seahawks as well.
You'll see a better effort out of them next week, I believe. I really think so. I'm not sure who they play. I could look it up real quick and find out where they're going. I actually have my sheet in front of me or somewhere in here. Rams schedule. They are at New England, and it's a early morning game, so not the greatest of spots for them. Then they host Philadelphia, who's been on fire, and then they go to New Orleans, host Buffalo, at San Francisco, at the Jets. It's a tough schedule. They finish with Arizona and Seattle both at home. Those are 2 winnable games, but they've got to beat New England on the road. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they're that good a team just because that offensive line, and the defense isn't the greatest either.
Right.
They've stepped up. Sean McVay has this defense playing well above better than what they are.
Let's go into NBA and NHL a little bit from yesterday. So in hockey, favorites were 4-2. Totals were 4-2 to the over. The Grand Salami did get there. That went over as well. In NBA, 3-2 to the under. One of those barely went over, and that was a very low scoring, and that was the Brooklyn game that we did talk about. So potential to be 4-1 there to the under. Overall, how was NBA for you yesterday?
I only had one really huge difference that I loved, and that was the Houston-Washington game under, and we didn't talk about that. I didn't have Van Vliet out, one of their best shooting guards for Houston, and Washington. His offensive efficiency is one of the worst in the league, and Houston's actually playing slow. So they're the better team that's playing slow and slowing that tempo down. I had a big difference on that. I made it 221, and it was bet up from 227 to 230 in the afternoon. So that was my biggest play in the day. Spurs over was one I talked about here on the show yesterday as well. That was a much bigger difference for me, but I love under so much more than overs. So I did bet more on the Houston under, but I also bet that Spurs over. The Brooklyn game under cost me my winning streak Because it was 6-0. I was 6-0 in totals the day before, 2-1 yesterday, and Brooklyn was the only loss, and I went under 210.5, and it landed 212.
And then you did talk about Chet Holmgren being out for Oklahoma City and how there would be spots to play the over, and that game flew over. It closed 218.5, and it was 262.
SGA at 45. He just said,
Yeah.
well, Chet's not here. I'm going to take over. And he took over and had a big game for the Thunder. And I couldn't go over because the Clippers. The Clippers play extremely slow, one of the slowest teams in the NBA. They play a very, very good defense, even without Kawhi, and their offense is rather average. So
here's a little tease for tomorrow. We will talk a little bit about some MVP odds because you did mention you threw out Steph Curry being at 50-1 still, and then I did look up to see Wemby is 100-1.
30 points last night, and they beat Sacramento.
30 points, and he's doing things that we haven't seen in the NBA yet with all the 3-pointers and the blocks. So we'll have more on that tomorrow with some graphics. But right now, Joker is the favorite, plus 225. And then it is SGA at plus 250 with now Chet down. That might be why his number has dropped. Luka and Jason Tatum are next at 6-1. But we'll have all of that, and we'll kind of go through it tomorrow and see if there is any value in any of those spots. We're going to get to the NBA and the games. I teased that. But first, let's go with college football.
Okay.
We've got some action. It is Tuesday. We've got 3 MAC games. Couple of them I think are sneaky good. So we'll go through these. We've got Central Michigan at Toledo. Now Toledo's 3-2. There are 4 teams right now in the MAC that are tied at 4-1. So Toledo's right there at 3-2. The Rockets are playing well. And then on the other side, Central Michigan, they are on their 3rd string quarterback. So it's going to be an uphill battle for them. They've been going through this all year long. Here at the South Point, Toledo is a 14.5 point favorite, and the total is 51. It has not even gone up yet, even with us talking about this, but we both like the over in this game.
Yes. And a lot of it for me is Toledo. And I guess really Central Michigan's defense is a big part of that total too, because they're a really bad defense. 115th in college football. Their offense 117, as you mentioned, down to QB3. But Toledo's led by Tucker Gleason, very good quarterback. 7.6 yards a pass, 61% completions. Those are about average stats, especially for a MAC quarterback. 18 touchdowns, but he's a dual threat. He's their second leading rusher. The last 2 games, they put up 26 and 29. When you look at Central Michigan, their defense has just been awful, especially in MAC play. They allowed 27 to Ohio at home. That was a really good game. But on the road, they give up 38 to Eastern Michigan and 46 to Miami of Ohio. And Toledo has a better offense. So this defense just giving up points aplenty. Jim McElvain's an overcoach. He has been his entire career. He's an offensive coach for Central Michigan. They do run it 60% of the time, basically because of the quarterback situation right now. Toledo plays fast, 12th fastest team in the country. They're going to get going up and down the field, and they're well balanced, and they're an over team. They're 4-1 over their last 5 games. Central's over 3-1. And the weather, 40 degrees, going to be cold, but no wind. So that helps.
There is some revenge here. Central Michigan did lose at home to Toledo last year, so you have to add that into the side. Even though Toledo is a big favorite there, maybe you got to consider that.
Yes,
we had 2.5 to our sides.
Yeah, I looking at this game in the morning, I said to you, I like Toledo because Central Michigan's going backwards. They've lost 4 straight, but they have covered 2 of their last 4. Then I looked at Toledo. They're 1-3 ATS their last 4. So I've got to stick with my numbers. I made the game 13.5. You have to put the revenge factor in. So I made the game 11, but I don't want to bet the dog. We could take 14.5, but I don't think there's a lot of value there. I think there's more value in the total going over.
And I will just say Toledo 1-3 against the spread as a double-digit favorite this season as well. So covering those big numbers. You brought up Central Michigan running a lot, averaging 185 rushing yards per game with Marion Lukes leading the way, 537 yards and 4 touchdowns on the season. Now, the only problem is Toledo is pretty good against the run, but they'll stick to the game plan. They should get get some points on the board for us as well for that over.
Toledo may be the best team I shouldn't say that. I know they're not the best team. I think Bowling Green may be the best team, and I don't have all of the team's ratings right here, but looking at that defense, wow. Well, Bowling Green's got a great defense too. Toledo's defense, 48th best in the country. So that's the one scary thing about the over is how much will Central Michigan score in this game? They're going to have to get a break or two, and they could.
Yep.
Toledo has not been good in the turnover war. They have lost the turnover battle 5 of the last 6 games. Toledo has.
Wow. More fumbles, right? Because looking at Tucker Gleason, his numbers are not bad. Well, 18-7.
Yeah,
ratio.
seven interceptions. So he's in there, but there's probably some fumble issues that they've had, and I'm sure their head coach Jason Candle's not happy about that. And he's been there 9 years. He was an assistant for 7. Toledo was really looking for someone to come in and get established there, and Jason Candle's done that.
Both coaches have been at these schools for quite some time. You brought up Jim McElwain, yep. And it's his 6th season there as well.
Yeah.
So probably very familiar with one another as well. Playing each other year after year.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you're right, and that home revenge has got to be factored in, as well as these teams, they're not going to quit. Jim McElwain doesn't recruit kids that are going to quit. They are 3-6. If they can run off 3 wins, they're going to a bowl.
Right.
Is it a tall task? Yes, but he's selling it to his team. It can be done. So we'll see how they play tonight. But on the road, that defense has given up a lot of points. So I'm expecting 40 points here tonight, 35 at least from Toledo, and hoping to get 21 out of Central Michigan. That's the question mark. Will I get the 21 out of Central Michigan?
Over 51 in this one for both of us. Let's go to the second game on the board, Western Michigan at Bowling Green. Now, this is a very intriguing one here. We've got both of them 4-1 in MAC play so far. Both of them 4-5 against the spread on the year. So should be a tough game here, a close game, but Bowling Green is still a 9.5-point favorite at home, total 58. My numbers were right there. I really didn't see anything either way. Now, we do have another home revenge situation. Western Michigan lost at home to Bowling Green last year. So if you add that in, maybe a slight lean to the dog. But yeah, let's break down this game. Coaches, quarterbacks, and
yeah, this is what a great game. When you have 2 teams that are fighting for first place, that's big. And last week I bet against actually, I didn't bet that game. I wanted to bet that game so badly, but my numbers just weren't far enough off. Western Michigan was 4-0, and Northern Illinois was 1-3. And this was my lesson about like the AP poll. You can't rank by record. 4-0 team at home hosting a 1-3 MAC team. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a play on it because I made Northern Illinois the 1-3 team the favorite, but nope, the books did as well.
Yep.
The players bet it to that side. I wanted to bet Northern Illinois so bad. And they really pretty much dominated that game. They won 42-28 over Western Michigan. And Western Michigan, the 4-0, was against Ball State, Akron, Buffalo, and Kent, all 4 well below average football teams. So they hadn't played anybody yet. They host Northern Illinois and they get beat up. Now they're going on the road to a Bowling Green team who's better than Northern Illinois. It's going to be tough. And I love what I've seen out of the Bowling Green head coach, Scott Loeffler. 5 years there, had won 20 games coming into the year. He won 3 his first year, 0 his second year. Looked like, wow, this guy may get fired. He won 4 his third year. Then he won 6, and they became bowl eligible. Last year, 7. And he's on the way to winning his 6th game this year. I think he wins tonight, even though Western's got revenge, home revenge, so that brings my number down, so I didn't bet the game on the side. But I made this total 67, and that's all about Western Michigan because they're all offense, 66th best offense in the country with Hayden Wolf, but 126 on defense. They're terrible defensively. Their median score on the year is 34-31.
Now, the only issue here is Bowling Green. You brought up their good defense, but looking at the numbers, and I was pretty interested in this quarterback play, because both of these guys have been college football players for 5 or 6 years. Hayden Wolf, redshirt senior for Western Michigan, 3 years at Old Dominion, and now 2 years here. So a lot of college experience. His numbers are pretty good. Coming off of his worst game against Northern Illinois, where he did have 2 interceptions. And then on the flip side with Connor Basilak, longtime quarterback, Mizzou, and then Indiana for a year, and then now here at Bowling Green for 2 years. So experienced quarterbacks, that's got to help an overplay.
When you're betting over, you better have good quarterback play. And in this game, that is the case. We've got 2 guys that are both very accurate. Wolf, 67%. Blazak, 68%. Wolf throwing for 8.3 yards a pass. Blazak, 7.7. And both guys, good touchdown to interception ratio. Wolf, 16-15. Blazak, 11-4. So, and both guys are really... neither guy's really a dual threat. They're not statues in the pocket, but they're passing quarterbacks. They throw the football, and Western Michigan likes to run it a little bit more than Bowling Green does, but they may not have that opportunity in this game because they're going to have to keep up with Bowling Green's offense. So, yeah, I like it over the total. And again, 40 degrees. It's going to be cold, but very light winds. So these guys should be just fine.
So anybody who is watching us this morning, thank you. We appreciate you and should be pretty excited. We have 2 overs so far in our MAC game, so hopefully you've got a lot of scoring and some exciting football games. Let's go to the last one, which I think is your favorite play of the day of these 3. And you brought up dual threat quarterback. We do have one on the side of Buffalo. So it is Ball State going to Buffalo. -4, and the total is 54.5. But you have some coaching revenge here in this one.
Yeah, you do. And, I don't know. I guess just for me, being a coach before and not a football coach, never coached football, but just being a coach and watching as many games as I do in my life that I've watched, college and NFL, I feel like I can spot a good coach just by watching him and seeing how he reacts to different things during the game. And I had bet Ohio U over Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. And I'm watching this coach for Buffalo, and I'm going, oh, man, this might be tough. This guy looks like he can coach. And I went back to look at my book, and he's a special teams guru. But he's not just a special teams guru. He was the head coach at Lehigh in the FCS 5 years and did really well, and then got the Elon job and did really well at Elon. He built both programs up, and then he got the job at Ball State, and he really built Ball State up, and he had one bad year, and they fired him. He was 33-29 in his 5 years. He had a winning record at Ball State. He went to Memphis, became their special teams coach, went to South Carolina the last 3 years to be their special teams coach. And that tells me a lot, because the head coach of South Carolina's father, Frank Beamer, was the best special teams coach in the entire world of football. So for his son to hire Pete Lembo, there's got to be some grassroots there. And that Buffalo special teams, I haven't even looked it up, but I guarantee they're the best special teams in the MAC. I know this guy can coach. And who's he coaching against tonight?
His former team.
He's up against Ball State, who fired him. I only made the game 3 because I have these two teams equally rated talent-wise. But I got to believe there's a huge coaching edge for Buffalo. And Pete Lembo has probably not said it one time all week. We're playing Ball State. I was fired from there. It's not his job. You know whose job it is? It's the assistant coach's job. And every assistant has his guys, running backs coach, linebacker coach, offensive line, defensive line, secondary coach. They're all telling their guys, hey, Coach Lembo got fired by the school we're playing this week. They're going to be fired up tonight at home. I think Buffalo wins by 2 touchdowns. And they will get a special teams touchdown tonight in this game.
We'll have to check if that is a prop available, maybe at some shops. But it also should tell you a lot just to get hired from an SEC team, right? As the special teams
yeah. Oh, yeah.
coach?
Yeah. Oh, no. That's I mean, he's
you were talking.
he's well respected.
Yes.
And he was looking for a new job, and he got this job. He's only 54 years old. So it's not like the guy's way over his prime. He's in his prime. I bet you Pete Lembo wins the MAC next year, and I bet you he gets a bigger job somewhere the year after that. He'll be in the Big 10 or Big 12.
Well, you better write down a note so next year before college football starts, you can check the futures and get a good number on Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. The bad thing is not writing this down because I'm thinking of doing a college magazine next year, and I need to write that down. So when I go rate Buffalo, I got to remember all these things.
Yes.
If I don't write it down, I will not remember that. I'll go, Pete Lembo. I'll probably remember because it's been great doing as many shows as I've been doing this year. My memory's gotten so much better. So I'll remember Pete Lembo for sure.
We'll have to write.
That'll
We'll have
be
to
in
start a
March.
document too, because papers we lose and throw away and think we're done with them, but.
Tell me, I was just emptying my bag before the show, and there was papers from November 4th in there. I think Vince put them in there. I don't know. I have to keep an eye on him.
Yes, you definitely should. Okay, so quarterbacks, offense, defense, ranking, you said these two are very similar. So,
yeah.
and your number was right there at
Ball
4.
State 112 on offense, Buffalo 111. Ball State defense 125. Buffalo 121. So Buffalo's slightly better, and I got to go back and look at a special teams rating. I just want to push their special teams rating up a couple points because of Pete Lembo now. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens tonight. But I love the angle there for Pete Lembo, and Buffalo being at home, that even helps even more.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be focused tonight. They're going to be ready to play, and it's not like they don't have anything to play for. They're 3-2, tied for 5th. After tonight, they're only a game out of first place. They're still playing for the MAC championship.
I will just bring up too, Ball State defensively, if you look at total yards allowed, they're 129th in the country compared to Buffalo, who is 105th. They also have a freshman quarterback with Caden Somoza, who has done pretty well, 6.6 yards per attempt, completing 66% of his passes, 16-9 ratio. And then on the flip side, though, I brought up the dual threat quarterback, and I don't want to get his name wrong, but CJ Ogbanya transferred from Southeast Missouri State. So not throwing the ball that much, 10-2 ratio, but 4 rushing touchdowns, 165 rushing yards.
Buffalo's defense needs to get a little better. They have given up some points the last 3 weeks. Western Michigan, who's outstanding in the conference. Ohio, who's outstanding. And they did give up 30 to Akron, who's not very good. They've gone over 5 straight games, Buffalo. But their offense has scored 30, 41, 16, and 41. So they've scored 30 or more in 3 of their last 4 games. Their offense is starting to come around, and against a weak defense like Ball State, I'm hoping for 35 tonight out of Buffalo.
Well, I like it. I actually made Buffalo a 7.5-point favorite here at home. So 4 is a good number. I think that is the best number out there, pretty much across the board. But might have been a number play. It did open a little bit higher, and some bettors did take the points there, and now brought it down to 4. But so we've got 2 overs and Buffalo today.
When I say to you, don't lay points with a bad team. And then when I saw the Giants lost on Sunday in Munich, I looked and I saw that's a bad team, and they were laying points to the Giants. I wonder how many times that happened in the NFL this year. So I went back and I grabbed all the games where a team had a rating of 98 or less. 100 is my average rating. 98 or less, and they were a favorite of 3 or more. I was shocked. They were 4-4 ATS. So there was no big deal about that. I went to college. I ran kind of the same thing at college. Teams of a 90 rating or less, a favorite of 3 or more. There was over 100 games, and I think they were 48-51 with a couple ties. So it wasn't a huge deal like I could walk in here and say, I told you, don't lay points with a bad team, because they only cover 40%. Well, it's not true. They're about 50%. So you can find spots every now and then, but I would say this, don't lay points with a bad team on the road. I should have checked that out. At least Buffalo's at home, and we're not laying that big of a number.
Well, and if they're the favorite, they're playing against a bad team. So I would assume it would be like right there.
Yes.
50%.
But again, that's why I don't like favorites, because if Buffalo wins tonight by a point, they're going to celebrate like the Super Bowl because they beat Ball State, Pete Lembo's old team.
Right.
They will be extremely happy. So there's a chance they could win by 3. That's why in sports betting, I could make the greatest case in the world, and it sounds like a lock, so you don't go out and bet your entire bankroll or even half your bankroll on a play like this. For me, it's a 2% play.
Just like Kansas City Chiefs, the team that has not lost since last Christmas, running on the field celebrating after the blocked field goal.
Yeah.
And they beat the Denver Broncos, who they're supposed to win.
Right.
Supposed to beat by 9.
That's sports. They very few of them know the spread and could care less. Coaches know the spread, and if they've got boosters that like to bet and like to hand over an envelope on Monday under the table, cover the spread because they know. There's a couple of guys that we could probably point out that maybe are getting an envelope on Monday.
Well,
Ryan.
We would love to, but we got to go to NBA, so we will not. Okay. We will not call anybody out today.
Okay, nobody.
On Sports by the Book.
I think Ryan's got a list of a couple of guys that I'd bring him on here.
Since you brought up Ryan, I will go ahead and announce the breaking news about the Chicago Bears, who have fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, because that is Ryan's football team. So we'll see what happens here now for the Chicago Bears, and hopefully, because we saw a glimpse of a really good Caleb Williams, and that's what everybody's hoping to see again, even though they've struggled the last couple weeks.
The Bears defense on the flip side has been very, very good. And when I finished my NFL last night, the second game I looked at, I made the Bears and Packers 32. And I couldn't believe that there was a 41 on the board. And I thought, well, the Bears just went under, and they have been going under. The offense has been sputtering now, and Green Bay's got a really good defense. 2 good defenses. Black and blue game, division. These two don't like each other. Let me go check the weather. It's going to be 15 to maybe 20 miles an hour winds there, and that affects play. It's always windy in Chicago anyway. So I got a great play here. So I bet that under 41, and I sent it out in my VIP club, and I thought this morning I'd wake up and it'd be 38.5. I'm glad it's not 42.5. It's still at 41. I was very surprised. But then I see the offensive coordinator got fired. Why'd they have to fire him this week? Why couldn't they wait till next week? Because when that happens, we've seen it happen in college and NFL, the offense gets better right away. So I'm going to have to maybe rethink that, but I hope the wind. Can't bet on the weather. Don't bet on the weather. Just have it be part of your equation if you need it. But I don't care if it goes up. I'll stay with it just because it's such a big rivalry.
It's kind of a mixed bag so far this year of what we've seen, because the Jets, we didn't get that boost the first game after the head coach was fired. Dennis Allen, we did see the Saints pull off the win over the Falcons this past weekend, but the Raiders, when they got rid of their 3 offensive coaches, I don't think we saw a big boost offensively, or I don't think they covered until that next week against the Chiefs. So,
yeah, and that was a game that, that's their biggest game of the year. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I know I got a big difference on a side, too, that I'm really shocked. It's amazing how the entire world was on this team the first 4 weeks of the season, and now the entire world's against them.
Is that the Minnesota Vikings?
No. No, the world wasn't on the Vikings early. It was pretty mixed. The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
Every week I'd have guys that worked in the book would call me and say, every ticket's on the Cowboys. Every ticket's on the Cowboys. Week in and week out. Everybody was betting the Cowboys to start the season. And now every ticket is on the Houston Texans in this game on a Monday night in Dallas. And Connor Rush showed.
Cooper.
Is it Cooper? I always want to call him Connor, and I did it. You're right. Cooper Rush. He showed a couple years ago that he's not that bad of a quarterback. I only have a 3-point drop-off for him. Dallas still has players, and I'm shocked that this game is that high. I made a pick, I think, somewhere in there. For an NFL game, I'm never that far off. So I'm kind of glad to let the public bet Houston all they want, and I'll be on the side of the Cowboys. It's a Monday night. Players know the rest of the league is watching. They do not want to be embarrassed. This will be the game the Cowboys players show up.
They are struggling right now, especially stopping the run. Don't really have any running backs right now to help out Cooper Rush, so a lot falls on him and CeeDee Lamb.
As you know that, they know that. So it's one thing that, they're going to focus on is we got to stop the run.
Well, the other thing is the Texans looked really good and almost upset the Lions, right? And Jared Goff had 5 picks. But that was a huge game for Detroit. Who did they have the week before?
Well, they've been playing a pretty tough schedule, Detroit, and they've been running over people.
Green Bay.
Yeah.
At Green Bay.
That's that division game, such a big part of the handicap when you're looking coming off a division game. Just like this Bears and Packers game this weekend, if they're playing a game that's out of conference the following week, they're probably not going to be as ready because they're going to put their focus on this game. Same thing I really feel with the Cowboys is that I'm shocked that the world has given up. This is not the Carolina Panthers.
Well, and, a lot of people bet the Cowboys this past weekend with Cooper Rush, knowing that it wasn't that big of a drop-off, knowing that we've seen him. He did not look good against Philly, but
what do I always say about guys? Did he have to shake some rust off?
Oh, yeah.
He hadn't played all year long. And then you throw him out there. Now he's got 2 more weeks of practice. He's got a game back under his belt. I think he's going to be better.
7.5. That's a lot of points in the NFL, especially for the home team.
Yeah.
Let's go to NBA quickly, and then we will go back to NFL again because we do have to give our updated top 10, and then we have to give our run and pass percentage as well. So first game on the board, Atlanta versus Boston. Now this is probably the biggest favorite on the board because the news, Trae Young will not be playing for Atlanta. Now Jason Tatum is questionable, but Jaylen Brown is coming back here for the Celtics. So what do your numbers say with Trae Young out?
The Celtics can name the score, 21.5 and 223. I would have loved to have betted under, but they've already done that. 228.5 down to 224.5. And why would I want to bet it under when I got a team 21.5? Because of Trae Young. He plays no defense, and he's a great scorer and passer, and they lose so much offensively without him in the lineup. And already Bogdanovich is out there, other great shooter. I don't think the Hawks have any scoring. If the Celtics play defense like they normally do and they keep the pace down, I don't think the pace will be as high for Atlanta without Young. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard to get to 220 in this game because I don't think the Hawks get to 100. I think maybe that's the bet to make, though, is the Hawks under their team total under here.
I like it. So you're saying whoever steps in for Trae Young
is automatically better defensively.
Is automatically better defensively and will not be able to match him offensively.
Not a chance.
They're going to
not a chance.
Step up on that side of the court.
And if Jason Tatum doesn't play, that total crashes. I think that total crashes 6 more points. That much.
First NBA Cup game, they're playing so well to start the season. I would imagine it's more of a rest thing because Brown has been out and Tatum's been carrying them, but I don't know. It seems like
he's been carrying them too.
It seems like they would want him.
Your cousin Derek.
They would put him in there. Derek White. Okay. But any feel last year you loved the Lakers to win it all.
I did. And because I thought they were very good, I had them ranked in my top 10, and I just knowing LeBron, he wants to win these type of tournaments. And I would say that LeBron would love to be known as the back-to-back play-in tournament champion. So you're going to get a great effort out of the Lakers. And they've got a good team. They're above average. I am a 103.5 rating, so they're in my top 10.
How about Steph Curry getting the second in season, though?
Yeah,
and Golden State,
and
maybe?
Golden State's playing great basketball. They really are. But they open with Dallas. It's all who your schedule is too. I'm sure I went through this schedule last year, and I'll try to do that tonight, so we have it tomorrow and give you my projected wins for each team because I did that last year.
Yeah,
and the Lakers played a weak schedule last year too. I knew that they were going to be favored. I think in 4 of their 5 games.
Before we get to that great Western Conference matchup. Let's go to Miami versus Detroit. No Jimmy Butler still, so the Heat are just -1.5 on the road. The total 214.5.
And love it under. This game came down 218.5 to 214.5, but I still like it under that. Jimmy Butler has always been known for his defense, but Jokic, the kid who's going to fill in for him, 22-year-old, is a great defensive player. Not a very good scorer. So you're losing a lot of offense with Butler, but you're actually getting better defensively. So that's big. And I think Durant also for Detroit, I have him as an out number on my sheet. I believe he's coming back. I would make Detroit 1 in this game and maybe even shave the total down a point. And especially these games were a little lower scoring. I need to do that, go back last year and see. You want to know what the league average scoring is, and then in important games like this, first round playoffs, second round playoffs, you need to know the averages. So how many points you take off. And I haven't taken any points off, but I do believe these games will be a little lower scoring than a regular season game.
The Pistons, after not being very competitive at all last year, are now 4-7. And right here, I mean, that's pretty much a pick 'em at home. So I don't hate that at all with you backing.
I don't think they're the greatest team. They're 5-6 ATS. So even though they got 4 wins, they still are not over 500 in the ATS department. But without Jimmy Butler in the lineup, Miami, who has not played well either, without their best player, that hurts them.
Let's go to Charlotte and Orlando. Couple injuries, but we've kind of known about these players for a while. Orlando, 8-point favorite at home, total 212.5.
I made it 6. Not sure if I'm interested in Charlotte in this game, but it is the type of game you're going to get the best effort, you would think, from both teams. And that's why I handicapped the NBA last year when I saw that play-in tournament. The NBA is such a league where you do not get their best effort every night. It's so up and down in how these guys come out to play. But I thought the play-in tournament, you should get every team's A effort. They should be focused on this because there's more money involved now. And it's competition. These guys thrive on competition. So this is a competition. And I think that you're going to get that effort. So I could, I side with the Hornets, but again, Steam bet it to 8. So I'll pass. I'd lean to the under without taking anything off for this being a big game. Both teams play below average in pace, and both teams' offenses have been below average.
LaMelo Ball has been pretty good this year,
gosh,
but he's really
great.
their main offensive player, right?
Yes. And Miller, the kid from Alabama, is a really good player too. But LaMelo Ball has been sensational. He's such a good basketball player. If he could just stay healthy.
Yeah, make it through a full season. Let's go to the Knicks versus the 76ers. Big news here. Joel Embiid is back, and the Knicks are a 3-point favorite on the road in Philadelphia, total 212.5.
Yeah, the NBA suspended him just enough games so this would be his first game back. Very, 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 very interesting that would happen that way. So, is he going to be rusty? Yeah, he's not going to be Joel Embiid. Remember when I talked about in football, when I said when I rate players out, I rate them out as mid-season form. A lot of these guys are getting close to that. Joel Embiid hasn't been on the court for a real game. So I would have loved to bet the Knicks. And I gave his full value back into this number. I made it pick and was hoping the Sixers would be a small favorite. But since Tyrese Maxey's out, the Sixers did open 1, but have now been bet to the favorite. And actually as high as 3 here at the South Point. I think the Knicks are the right side, but I can't lay it. I'm not going to bet Embiid tonight because if he has an off game.
Right.
And I think where you brought in the point that Cat is really a weak defensive player, really good offense. Joel Embiid may have his way on offense, which is true. And if he's not in midseason form, maybe it's his defense that suffers of anything in this game. That defense is a lot harder to play than offense is.
Yeah. So
maybe this is one of those games that could be an over. But again, look at all the money on all the unders in these tournament games. 217 down to 212.5. And that's about what we're seeing in the market right now. And that was South Point opener, 217.
I was just thinking that, actually. As I said, 212.5. I'm like, wait, this went down. And these are pretty low totals today. Let's go to Milwaukee. 8.5 at home, 226.5 against Toronto. No Dame in this one for the Bucks.
Yeah, another great offensive player. I've got him worth 5.5 points to the betting line. And I told you earlier, the talent in the NBA is so much better than it has been in so many years. And it just keeps getting better every year. These guys are, and Steph Curry was the guy that did this. Steph Curry has been the inspiration to all these great players. When kids saw this skinny 6'1" kid shooting from half court and making these amazing 3-point shots, and the dribbling that he had and the ball handling and the passing, they all started doing what he was doing, and they all can shoot now. The shooting, 3-point shooting, is so much better than it's ever been in the game, and there's so many great shooters. Dame's one of those guys, and he's so valuable to the team and the total. I made this game the Bucks 4 and 217. Emmanuel Quickley's back for Toronto, and he came back a couple games ago. That's a big addition to their team. They are a completely different team with him in the lineup and not. So I like Toronto here in this game, and I like the game under.
Milwaukee 2-8 on the season and just 3-7 against the spread. So it's been a very tough go here for Giannis and for Dame.
They've been the under team. Sorry to interrupt you. 7-3 to the under the Bucks are this year.
Hopefully they can turn it around, but it's going to be hard without Dame in the lineup. Let's go to Phoenix and Utah. Neither of these two have been great covering the spread either, but Phoenix is 8-2 on the season. No KD in this one. Suns still a 4-point favorite on the road, and the total 227.
Boy, without KD, it's surprising they're that big of a favorite on the road. I know Utah, a lot of people don't like them, but Market and I have back in the lineup. That's big. He's their best player, and he can keep his team in the game from all the skills that he has. So I only made the Suns a half here. I do like the Jazz in the game, and I like it under. I made it 218. We're looking at open 231, bet down to 227.
Wow.
All the under moves have been in the right direction.
Let's go to the 7th game on the board here, Minnesota and Portland. Timberwolves still playing very well. Anthony Edwards is a number I want to give out tomorrow, too, for MVP and see what you think. But the T-Wolves, 8.5-point favorite, total 221.
And they should be that big a favorite. I made them 9, so I'm right there on the number. I made the total 213, though. Minnesota plays a little bit of a slower pace, slower than the league average, and they play above average defense. And Portland may be the worst offensive team in the NBA. They just struggle scoring the basketballs. And against a good team like Minnesota, they should struggle tonight. I've got them 102 points, scoring 102. So I would say the Portland team total under is a better play for me in this game.
Okay, that's 2 team totals under so far on this board. Last but not least, Dallas and Golden State. As you mentioned, a tough game for the Warriors to start this in-season tournament. 2.5-point favorite here in this one at home, though, and high total, 234.5.
Yeah, and that's because the offenses are 2 of the better offenses in the NBA. I didn't make it quite as high, though, 224.5. I'm just going to stay with my number. I would have gone under the opener of 232. I didn't, and I'm glad it's higher now. So I have a better number. I would have gone under anyway. Might as well go under the better number. So I'm just going to go for like a clean sweep on the board, maybe unders every game.
Do you have a second half for those 2 teams with Dallas and Golden State?
Yeah.
Some trends?
Golden State 6-2 on the side, and they're 6-2 over in the second half this year. So they have played well. Biggest difference, Toronto 6-3 ATS in the second half, the Bucks 2-6. And these are small sample sizes. They can turn around, so you don't just bet Toronto in the second half because of that. And I'm sure you're not rushing to the window to do that anyway. But Miami has struggled in the second half, 2-6 this year. Total-wise, Miami 6-2 to the over in the second half, which kind of surprises me. I bet you by the end of the year they have more unders in the second half than they do overs, and that's because of Spoelstra, their head coach, really good coach. I think he's very underrated. He's one of the best in the NBA.
Before we take our break and go to all NFL and give our updated power ratings, did you have any college basketball. I didn't really have any hockey today that I wanted to go through or any plays that really jumped out. I did just want to give the Grand Salami number. It is 43 here at 42.5 here at the South Point. But yeah, that's it for hockey. Anything for college basketball?
Towson in South Carolina, I like over. Made the game 150 and it's 134.5. That is a big difference. Totals did good yesterday. The only loser was the St. Peter's game under, but St. Peter's did cover against Rutgers in that game. Florida Atlantic, Central Florida, both Florida teams. Miley made that total 141.5. Central Florida's always been a very solid defensive team. Was bet up from 52.5 to 57. That's a lot of points. So it will be under in that game as well. Give me find you one more. So you got a 3-team parlay, Alex. Duke, Kentucky. Let's go over there. Big game, but two really high-scoring basketball teams who both play fast. I made it 170. You can go over 160.5.
Okay, I like that one. I'm sure the listeners do as well. I do remember you giving out the Iowa State and TJ Altenberger, and
that went under.
That went under. Yep, that was a great under team last year. I think they will continue to be this year.
And you mentioned both head coaches had coached at UNLV. They were head coaches here, Marvin Menzies and TJ Altenberger. I'm sure they shared that at half court. When they met, or when they meet at half court.
Yeah.
Not on the court, but on the sidelines at half court.
It is funny and ironic, but we'll be right back. We have 10 minutes left. We got to go through a lot of NFL stuff. Don't go anywhere. Sports by the Book. We'll be right back.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
And we are back here on Sports by the Book. Kenny White. I'm Alex White. Thanks so much for being here with us. Shout out to everybody in our chat. We appreciate you guys. We do like to get requests for any college football games coming up this weekend or NFL that we can do our homework and have prepared for you tomorrow. So if you have any requests, please put them in there. Shout out to Vince, Dean Hilt, JR, and Jerry. We appreciate you guys. A couple requests in there already. Love it. Dean Hill always gives us a few. And I was going to say Nebraska's typically on there, but it's usually Indiana. But today it is USC and Nebraska. I like it.
And what have you done for me lately?
Washington versus UCLA.
You've been betting Indiana all year. You're winning. Then all of a sudden they lose. Nobody wants Indiana anymore. They didn't cover. They won. They didn't cover, I'm saying. Just kidding, though. It's a bad joke.
Do they have a bye this week? That's what I was thinking. They had
Indiana?
Michigan.
Oh, maybe they do.
They had Michigan, and I know they have Ohio State coming up.
That'd have been nice to see. I was trying to find that in the NFL. So I remember
They have Ohio State the 23rd. They are off this weekend.
the year
That's why they didn't make the list.
Super Bowl, Tampa hosted the Chiefs. And everybody looked back in the regular season, and the Chiefs destroyed Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason why. Because Tampa had played 11 straight weeks and had not had a bye week yet, and they were dead tired and had 2 corners out for that game, and the Chiefs destroyed them. And then you go to the Super Bowl, everybody's thinking Chiefs are going to do it again, and Tampa Bay won the game because it's a completely different situation, and that's why you have to know all these situations. Indiana, maybe they were starting to get a little bit tired, and that's why they didn't cover that spread against Michigan, but they did pull the game out.
Very valid point. Chiefs also had a lot of offensive line injuries in that Super Bowl.
Yes, they did.
That
Yes,
was
they
before I had a player power rating system,
Yeah.
so that was my worst Super Bowl of all time. But thanks for bringing it up today. But let's go to NFL today. Let's go to our top 10. We'll both give our updated power ratings, but first, as we do every week, we will give you the teams that are running the ball the most, starting with the Philadelphia Eagles at 54.8%. The Steelers bumped ahead of the Ravens and now are at 53.2. The Ravens 52. Lions 51.8, Washington Commanders 50, and then we'll finish off that top 10 with the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Packers, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Vikings are right there at 10, but they just barely snuck ahead of the Buffalo Bills, I believe. But the most important part of this is that top number right there against the spread, and just looking at all these teams, these are the teams that you do want to be betting on. 58, 33, and 2 against the spread so far this year.
And looking at all playoff teams to look at that list, I don't see anybody who right now you would consider not a playoff team. Even though you got 3 teams from the black and blue division, Lions, Packers, and Vikings. I won't mention who the other team is, Ryan.
That was kind of expected, right? It was between them and then the AFC North, which we've had a drop off there with the Ravens division, but there's 2 of them right there.
Yeah.
We're just missing the other 2 that could have very well been in there. But yeah, those 2 divisions going into the year were kind of debated which one was the best.
From top to bottom.
From top to bottom.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. But, yeah, that's a strong list of teams that they control the gameplay. And Philadelphia being number 1, they've been able to give their below average defense some rest, which is very important. If they were throwing the ball 60% of the time, they'd be the best over team ever in the history of the game. They probably would have lost a couple games, but now they're on a good winning streak because they're running the football.
And they have one of the best to help them do that with Saquon Barkley, and they're actually capitalizing and using him in the right way and using their strengths. But I do want to go to slow pace of play, if you don't mind, because it's kind of correlated. But this is wild to me because I tried to do their over-under numbers, and we can throw this one up here right here. Here is who is playing the slowest and most methodical in the National Football League. But it was two everywhere. Baltimore is 9-1 to the over. Now Minnesota could have helped. They are 6-3 to the under. But then, and the Chargers are 7-2 to the under. But there's a couple other ones like Buffalo, 6-4 to the over. And I mentioned
Detroit's an
the
over
Ravens.
team.
Detroit, yep.
Because their offense is so good, though.
Efficient, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like we talked about with college.
I look at Tennessee and I think, wow, so much of a father has influence on his son that Brian Callahan's the head coach. Bill Callahan is the offensive line coach. And I've been saying Tennessee's offensive line is going to be one of the best in football by the end of the year because of Bill Callahan. And he's already has his son's offense playing the way his offense is played, slow and methodical, shorten the game. And they know they don't have the talent that everybody else has in the league. And that's what they're trying to do. Their game plan is to shorten these games to give themselves a chance to win. They were hanging around with the Chargers last week, but then the Chargers, pulled away late. So, I lost that game under the 2 slowest teams in the league playing against each other. And it was the lowest amount of plays, but, they couple big touchdowns.
Justin Herbert playing very well there and enjoying his new coaching staff and winning again for the Chargers.
Yep.
So that was run percentage and slowest. We will go to pass-heavy teams, if you will run down this list, and then I will give you the ATS for these 10 teams.
Sure. Dallas, we've seen the highest passing team, 65.3% of the time. And a lot of that's, by design because they're behind. Cleveland Browns, number 2, again, playing from behind. Seattle, another team, high pass percentage, 64.5%. The Jets, another team that has struggled, and Aaron Rodgers is throwing it everywhere. The Raiders at 63.7, the Bengals 62.7. Again, both teams just losing and trailing in their games. They need to throw. The Rams, same situation. Even though Sean McVay wants to get to the running game because he knows, but that offensive line can't run block like they really need to. The Bucs, a little surprising there. They've had a good year, and Baker Mayfield's been really good at quarterback. I would think they want to run it much, much more than what they have. The Jaguars have had to throw out of necessity trailing. The Giants, the same thing. I bet you these teams' ATS record's not very good.
I do have, it is not very good at all. And I do also have something, Carolina, no longer in the top 10 there, and now have won 2 in a row.
Wow.
The Panthers are now 11th on that list, but fall out of that. So ATS for these 10 teams, 36, 55, and 3.
And one of them I love this week. You know what? They're not going to throw it 65% of the time against Houston. They don't want to get into a shootout. They're going to work on stopping the run and running the football. I believe that's what they're going to be doing. So I hope they can do that.
On the year, they are 2-6-1, the Dallas Cowboys, against the spread. But we kind of always talk about these trends, and eventually they kind of even out. So maybe the books have given you too many points, right?
That's my feeling.
And,
buy low, sell high, and I'm buying low on the Cowboys. They're as low as they possibly could be right now.
And it's a night game, so there will be no sun at Jerry's World.
Yeah, no excuses.
Yes. Let's go to the quickest pace of play here for the NFL. Before we go to our top 10, I'm sorry, we're going to go over a little bit today as well, but we got to give you our top 10. I don't have very many changes at all in my top 10, but we'll get to that. Quickest pace of play, Cowboys at number 1 once again.
And Colts number 2. They've been up there all year. Seattle. The Falcons, the Saints, a lot of teams that have been playing from behind in games. Jacksonville, another one. The Bears are 7th in pace. The Broncos, 8th. Rams, 9th. Raiders, 10th. Again, if you looked at their overall records as a team, they probably all have a losing record. I shouldn't say that completely. The Colts, Seahawks, and Falcons are probably close to an even record, maybe a game above.
Yeah, Falcons definitely are. I will say, too, with the Bears, their O-line is a mess right now, and Caleb Williams has been sacked a ridiculous amount of times. So, I mean, that kind of goes to that pace of play as well, right?
Well, when you're trailing, yeah. You
and
have
gotta
to
get it
play
out
faster
quick.
to get back in the game. Was the goal of a lot of teams in shortening the game, and you don't want to play slow. You want to get into your 2-minute offense late because you're down 2 touchdowns. So
we'll hit our top 10 quickly, and then we will get you out of here.
Talking about me? Getting me out of here?
Yep.
Okay, good.
And then I will be back. Just a reminder, again, here on Punchlines. Go to YouTube channel, Punchlines FN. There is a link here in the chat. I was laughing, too, because Jerry's really excited because Joel Embiid is back for the 76ers. So shout out to Jerry, who is probably watching from the basement. Okay, National Football League top 10. Here we go. Not a lot of changes for me. At 10 is Green Bay. I'm trying to think of who 11 is. I think it is the Falcons right there behind Green Bay. 9 is the Minnesota Vikings. Did not move. 8 is the Los Angeles Chargers. Some may say I have them too high, but they've covered 2 weeks in a row and are playing some good football. Pittsburgh and Philly actually switched. This was my only big change. I didn't move Pittsburgh. I did have them as a favorite over the Commanders. So my number was pretty much there, but I did have to raise up the Philadelphia Eagles. Tied at 4 is the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. Number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. And then 2, Kansas City Chiefs and Lions, just slightly above the Chiefs.
There's some good teams, and I have some of these underrated probably at the beginning of the year because I've upgraded the ratings. I'm not stubborn. The Commanders and Vikings I have tied at 12th at 102.5 rating. So they're above average. The Chargers are 103, the 11th team. So just to give you those outside of my top 10, they're above average NFL teams. Packers I have tied for 9th with the Falcons. Pittsburgh number 8, a 104 rating. So there's not a big difference, a 1.5 from the Steelers to the 12th ranked Vikings and Commanders.
I think that's where mine is too.
Very close. Buffalo number 7. I continue to move them up. I probably had them underrated to begin the year. Sean McDermott's a very good coach. I have to pay attention to that next year to not. I was just excited that it could be somebody different. And I thought it was going to be the Jets because their defense was so good.
Yep.
But they've had so many injuries on defense. Bengals tie for 4th with the Eagles and the Ravens. Detroit, I have number 3. The 49ers with McCaffrey coming back, I added the 2 points back onto their power rating. So I now have them tied with the Kansas City Chiefs at a 110 rating. And I'm hoping the 49ers don't let me down from the prediction I had at the beginning of the year that they're the most talented team in the NFL. If Brock Purdy starts to take over now, McCaffrey makes a huge difference in that team. They're going to be a much different football team here at the end of the year.
I mean, they have dealt with a lot, and of course they don't have Brandon Ayuk either. So now having McCaffrey as another target and a weapon will be very, very helpful for him. So 49ers host the Seahawks this weekend, and they're on the opposite list, right? We've got the Niners who are in the run-heavy team and the Seahawks who are in the pass-heavy, but they are coming off a bye week. And I was a little disappointed. I thought the 49ers was the best favorite play this past weekend. Coming off a bye week, facing this beat-up Tampa Bay team, but they were fortunate to get the win in that one. We'll see how they look at home now, getting everybody back.
Got to respect the opponent. A lot of times these teams don't respect the opponent. So I think the 49ers will respect Seattle being a division game. So, and a game, McCaffrey's going to be that much better the second week and then that much better the third week. Remember, mid-season form, he's going to be really good in 4 weeks. San Francisco's offense is going to be dangerous 4 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely something to look out for. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for jumping in the chat. We appreciate you. Vince is going to write down those games that were requested. We'll pick out a couple ourselves, probably an SEC game or two. Any final thoughts for you with today's show, or any plays that really stuck out to you that you want to recap?
Well, thanks for asking. I need to come up with a better dog play. I didn't realize that Paul Stone was out yesterday. I should have asked you. And if you had any injuries in the NHL that I didn't have, but I still would have bet the Golden Knights. But Paul Stone is like the leader of that team, and it just seems like he's only one player. He's only one guy, and they had a 20-player rotation in hockey, basically, with 4 lines.
Is there another? Wait.
He's one of 12.
Mark Stone.
Mark Stone. What did I say, Paul?
Paul Stone is our friend.
Paul Stone from Texas.
The very good college football better. But
his brother,
I feel like there's another famous Paul Stone too, no?
I feel like there is, but
yeah. But yes, he
Mark
is.
Stone.
They do struggle without him.
Yeah.
And as a lower
He's
body.
the leader. He's one of the best defensive forwards in the game, and that's what makes him so good, because he's really the front attack of that defense.
Do you have your NFL power rating still up? Because Dean Hill did ask about the Cardinals, and I think that is a fantastic question.
Oh, yeah, where are they at?
Because I think
Number 16, a 101.5 rating. I heard somebody talking about on the way home yesterday about the Cardinals and about how good Kyler Murray's looked, and maybe Murray's worth a bet. They're a slightly above average NFL team. I don't think they're anywhere near the 49ers. And I think the 49ers are looking up at Arizona. I think they start to dominate some games here. And I think the 49ers finish out the year very, very strong. And I guess the Cardinals are 4-1 to win the division still, and they're leading.
Right.
So,
Wow.
It's a team that has generated some confidence because they played much better.
And I mean, they're in that list, leaning on their run game. James Conner, underrated, has been fantastic. But then Kyler Murray is their second leading rusher.
Yeah.
And that could be concerning, right? And
It is. If he gets lost for any length of time, it's a big drop-off.
Yeah.
I just like the 49ers. The team, the roster is outstanding.
Should get interesting. I don't know who the Cardinals have this week, but we'll look into that. We will have some games of the week. Okay, they do have a bye. Thank you, Ryan. We'll have some games of the week to go over tomorrow. We'll also have today's action for the first 30 minutes, as we always do, and have some plays. Hopefully you followed along and got some good NBA information and some good plays. A lot of unders that we do like. College football, flip side, first two games, we like the over. And then Buffalo is the favorite of the day. Buffalo Bulls.
That is my game of the day that I think the team plays for their coach. And again, they're not a great team though. So they're going to have to give their best effort here.
We will find out
get there.
And recap all of that tomorrow, because we will both be here back on the desk at 9 a.m. Thanks again so much. Please make sure and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are just growing and growing. Couldn't do it without everybody that supports us and watches every day. So for the crew behind the glass, for Kenny White, I'm Alex White. We'll see you again tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on Sports by the Book.